So, what do you do when your clients don't change? That's the topic of a free webinar that I'm doing on April the 19th at 7 p.m. UK time. This topic of troubleshooting is one dear to my heart. As some of you may know, it's the topic of my first book, Provocative Hypnosis. And I did run a impossibles practice for 8 years where I voluntarily took on clients who had not succeeded in traditional forms of therapy and offer them a no change, no pay policy. So I have a lot of experience working with difficult and often impossible clients. Now, interestingly, this is a topic that's almost never mentioned in training courses in the fields of neurolinguistic programming, hypnotherapy, coaching, and many schools of psychotherapy. I'll tell you a little dirty secret from the world of NLP and hypnosis and psychotherapy. You see, when I first started out and I watched these very impressive demonstrations on stage done by named trainers, I thought that the whole thing was random. And in one sense, it is. I'm not claiming that they use stooges, but I thought that the demonstration participants were randomly selected from the audience of participants. And later on, I discovered that that's not the case at all. You see, a good trainer needs to demonstrate what they're actually demonstrating, and who can blame them? So they're looking for someone who's a good fit for the technique or format that they intend to demonstrate. Now, what this very often means is someone who has clear access to their own internal representations and can move them around voluntarily. Someone who's good at visualizing deliberately in conscious awareness. Someone who has good access to feelings and can easily, in a voluntary way, get a sense of the problem issue by deliberately using their imagination. They have good VK, visual kinesthetic synesthesias. And very often people who have at least some modest hypnotic capacity. If you can get a client like that or a person like that up on stage, then you can make pretty much all the classical NLP techniques look very good. The problem with this is when you go home and you start to see paying real-time clients, you then discover that a lot of them don't necessarily have that good access to their internal representations. Some of them are completely disconnected from their feelings. Some of them can't make deliberate visual imagery. Some of them are so riddled with internal dialogue or so distracted or have so short attention spans that it's very difficult to work with them in the conventional ways. If you're a hypnotherapist, you'll discover that, well, maybe 5 to 10% of the population are strong somnambulists. What do when you get people who just don't seem to have any hypnotic capacity whatsoever, and you deem yourself as a hypnotherapist? So in the 70s, there was a guy called Eugene Genlin who wrote a book called Focusing. And he asked a different question, and the question was, who succeeds in psychotherapy? And one of the things that he discovered was that people who succeeded as clients in various forms of psychotherapy, one of the big common denominators was they had good access to felt sense, meaning they could, in a deliberate, voluntary way, get in touch with the issue in the problem by using their imagination. But again, what do if you meet the types of clients who just don't have those capacities? How do you train those capacities? Or what other ways of working do you have available that don't rely on those capacities? So when clients don't change, there are typical patterns in the client, in the way they think, their expectancies, how they process information, their beliefs that are relevant. But there are also limitations in the therapists and in the helper that are also quite common. And there's often relationship issues with the helper and the person who are supposed to be helped. So in this very when clients don't change free webinar on April the 19th, 7 p.m. UK time, 2023, I will be going through some of these things and offer some very specific solutions, and there will be a Q&A as well. I also want you to know that I'm doing a 7-week seminar as well on the topic of when clients don't change, where I go into depth about these various patterns, relationship issues, limitations in the agents of change, the limiting factors in the client, and how you can deal with them. So if this is of interest to you, go to provocativehypnosis.com, go to the seminar page, and you'll get all the information there. If you want to sign up directly for the 7-week seminar, I promise you it's golden. It's stuff that you won't hear anywhere else, I promise. You can of course do that. If you want to check out the free webinar first, before eventually perhaps deciding to join on to the 7-week course, you can of course do that as well. So any questions you may have, feel free to post them where you find the video, and I hope to see you at the free webinar and the seminar. As always, thanks for listening.